Thank you so much. We're so honored to be here. Thank you for coming to see this story.
I think it's quite an honor to have this film here, and especially because the war continues. How did you get involved with this project, and who are the associates here who are on the screen with us?
Oh, I'm Brendan Bellomo, co-director of Porcelain War, and my co-director and participant, Slava Leotyev, and Anya Stasenko, who you've just met.
You know, as a filmmaker, I really loved the music and the way that it was put together and the metaphors, the dandelions landing like bombs. Those kinds of images take it out of being just a war film and put it into the area of art and using the struggle of Ukraine and the brave people there. In fact, that's probably what you get most out of the film is the humanity and how life goes on and how brave these people are trying to, like America did, 250, 300 years ago, try to save a place for themselves and to be their own and to be away from other people that are under their control. What moved you most about making this film? And tell me all about how you got involved and the whole project. And it's going to be in theaters within the next couple of weeks, which is very handy because
November 22nd in New York, and then here on the 29th on the coast. So I'll tell you about the first moment when I discovered just how deep their bravery was. So this project actually came together because one of our producers grew up under Russian oppression in communist Poland, and she became a political refugee when she escaped with her family to the United States, and they really tried to hold on to their culture through music and art and cinema. And about 8 years ago, she discovered Anya and Slava's figurines, and she was so moved by them because they reminded her of home. And she shared them with me, and I'd never seen anything like them. I couldn't believe how something so small had such big stories on it. It was just incredible. So we started, the four of us, working on an animation project, and then Russia invaded. And I called up Slava and I asked him, are you guys leaving? Are you okay? And he said, no, we're going to stay, and we'll keep working on art at night. And I asked, what are you doing during the day? And he told me, I'm in the Ukrainian Special Forces, and I'm training everyday people how to fight. I couldn't believe it. In this moment, I realized there were two forms of resistance, one that was creative and another of people feeling as if they had no choice but to defend their families. And we all decided to send cameras into Ukraine. I wanted to empower Slava to tell his story through his eyes and in his words. And you can't just FedEx a camera into a war zone. It's impossible. And we realized there was this incredible network of Ukrainian volunteers in the United States, and it was a hairdresser in New Jersey who was bringing 50 bags of medical supplies at a time, just herself. She said, I'll carry your camera. And the cameras arrived in Slava's hands in Kharkiv. But we had a deep challenge. We were separated by 6,000 miles. We were speaking two different languages, separated seemingly by two different cultures. And at the time, I asked Anya, I was thinking, gosh, how are we going to do this? They've never used a camera before. And at the time, I had asked Anya how she was feeling. And she said, we're so alone here, we feel as if we're on the moon. And this stuck with me. It reminded me of the Apollo mission, when these astronauts were stranded in their spacecraft. They had a duplicate of every single piece of equipment back on the ground in Houston. And so for every lens and camera and microphone that I sent them, I had the same thing in my hands in Los Angeles. And we created an impromptu film school where I showed them how to take their artistic instincts from painting and sculpting into cinema. And they taught themselves beautifully. What they captured is what you saw tonight.
You should ask. I think we should engage the two big people on the screen. You want to ask them some questions?
Yeah, Slava, would you like to tell them what it was like, this experience of beginning to film and what was going on at the beginning of the war?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. I was in Ukraine. I wasn't really free. And I was able to work on this movie only because my friends completely supported us. They understood how amazing is this opportunity to share our experience and bring the truth about our work to viewers anywhere, and especially in the United States. I felt huge responsibility for this, and I felt huge responsibility because during this war, anything may be destroyed. And we filmed anything like in the last seconds of existence of all this beautiful architecture or beautiful nature or beautiful people. And from the very beginning, I decided we never will be focused on destruction, we never will be focused on evil, we will be focused on good things, on all what may be destroyed. We will be focused on art and culture, because art and culture is one of the main targets of Russia in this genocide war. Since the start of war, our museums was destroyed, our university was damaged, and most important, so many our artists was killed. And we cannot fix anything. Nobody can bring these people back to life. Because this is our duty, create new art, create a future for Ukrainian culture.
Anya, I thought maybe you could speak about the process of the animation, how that came about, and what you felt seeing them for the first time.
When we started to think about animation, we really took all focus of our work. It's more than 20 years ago, our work. And all this material we sent in Poland. It went to beautiful animation studio Blue, and they studied all this material and made by hands 7,000 little pictures to make my drawing and during one of our conversation by Zoom, in one moment I said, I see how my little snail without shell, my little refugee, walking with her pet on the leash, and it was absolutely beautiful.
You know, so many of the beautiful artistic elements of the filmmaking. One of them is the delicate aspect of the animation, how precise it is, and kind of juxtaposed against the brutal kind of grossness of war. But one of the things I really appreciated beyond all of the storytelling was just being able to see Ukraine for what it really is. The natural areas, the cities, even the drone strike footage was so interesting. And, you know, you felt like you were there with the soldiers. Emotionally, you got even more out of it than you can from a television coverage with newscasters there and explaining everything, because you felt like you were there with the real people. And that was outstanding. It's very powerful. And I know that you're entering it for the Academy Award documentary division. I've been a member of that division for 35 years. And it's not easy to get nominated. And I just wanted to ask you, what stage is the voting in right now? I haven't been notified lately.
We're in the shortlisting stage, so
good. Is that down to 9 or down to 5?
it's down. There'll be 15 for the shortlist,
Okay.
and then it goes down to 5 for nominations.
Yeah, awesome. Well, way to go.
Thank you.
Well, I know what I'm going to be voting for this year.
Thank you so much.
You know, you want to take questions from the audience?
Sure, we would absolutely love to. And I think right before that, I can speak a little bit about one of the things you'd mentioned, which was this idea that Slava early on really felt that there was something we weren't seeing in the news. I mean, this is the largest conflict in Europe since World War II, and there's a story that's occurring within the boundaries of Ukraine, but this is so many brave and courageous and important journalists were covering this from outside, but Slava really wanted to share this from within Ukraine, in his own voice, in his own eyes. And they really did want to focus on everything that was at risk. As Anya had said at the beginning, it wasn't about destruction. All destruction is the same. It's about what we're protecting. It's about our culture and these things that are the target of this genocidal aggression. And we really worked hard to send 15 cameras into Ukraine. And by the end, we had not only cinema cameras, but body cameras and drone cameras all working in tandem and in synchronization during battle sequences. And they filmed over 500 hours of footage. And we actually edited this simultaneous to the filming because there was no opportunity. This is such an urgent situation and story. There was no opportunity to shoot everything and then edit. We had to do this all simultaneously. So we were filming for 18 months. We cut for the last 9 months of that, and we only stopped filming about a week before we locked picture. And the course of the edit was completely tied to their lives. When the signal cut out earlier, I couldn't help but be reminded of when Slava and I were in communication. There were times when there would be shelling. He would lose internet, he would lose power and water and everything, and I couldn't sleep. I wouldn't know when I would hear from them again if they were okay. And then finally we would regain contact, and then he'd say, okay, the footage is coming back in, we're all right. But it was, despite this distance, we were completely tied together in this process, emotionally and creatively.
What an experience for you as well as them. Any questions from the audience? I want to get people involved. There's one right here.
Slava, where are you now? And what have you guys been doing since the film?
Now we are in Denver, and tomorrow we will be in New York. We continue to support our community and travel from festival to festival. Because now it's mainly here help to share our movie. It's studio, huge responsibility. Our movie is amazing, but everyone asks not to present at least on the screen, by Zoom. If we can be personally visit
Another thing about the film that I was moved by was the use of sound, the way that you did sound effects, the way that the music was done, which was so creative and interesting and featured during the end credits, which I appreciate that. Where was that done, and how did the whole post-production element work?
Sure. So firstly about the music. Early on in the filming process, Slava and I were discussing what music maybe felt would be right for the film, and he shared with me Daka Braka, this band that you hear in the film, and he actually said, Andrei paints to this music. And he sent me Vesna, the song that the film begins with and closes with, and I had never heard anything like it. I felt transported into Ukraine, this sounds of the animals and birds that they make vocally, and I began to cut the entire film to this music, one scene after another, one song after another, and I realized the entire edit is to this music. Luckily, they were incredibly supportive of the film. Daka Braka is just a remarkable band. So they actually gave us their entire catalog and even unreleased music that is a part of the story, and they're touring the world now, donating their proceeds to musicians who are in a position where they have to fight, and they're absolutely remarkable people. And the sounds of this film were recorded by Slava and Andrei and the units Saigon. We sent them many audio recorders, so when you hear the ambiences of this film, those are the soundscapes of Ukraine. We felt that was very important.
Now, any other questions? Yes, right here at the front.
An excellent question. It was logistically very complicated. So we were very, very fortunate that in Kharkiv, despite the shelling that was occurring and many internet and power outages, they actually have very fast fiber internet. So we came up with a way to either from there when they were shooting in Kharkiv or when they were on the front line, encrypt the footage and share it via Starlink or via their normal internet. And so we sent back all the raw footage, and then it was stored on firewalled, secured servers, and everybody's names were only code names because there was great tactical value to everything that they were filming. And so we also ensured that anything that's in the film was always 3 months behind their present missions, so that the tactical value of that was very strategically diminished to keep everybody safe. But it was kind of an enormous amount of data because we had so many cameras and so many hours of footage, but that's what was required.
Other questions? Yes, right here.
First of all, congratulations. Amazing artifact that you've created here. Beautiful film.
Thank you so much.
I'm curious, obviously the challenge of creating a documentary, that hasn't ended, really. There's no, beautiful third act, potentially, and hopefully it will be beautiful. But how do you know when to end this?
This was an ongoing topic of conversation because, unfortunately, the conflict had not come to peaceful resolution by the time we had finished shooting, and we felt this story absolutely had to be shared now. We couldn't just continue filming and wait. And so this notion of a conclusion, a third act, was impossible. There's a paradox here. You have to end the film, but there is no end. They're all continuing to fight and all continuing to experience this. And so we realized through Anya's paintings, she was dreaming of a future in this Pegasus. And that future, that dream, was articulated so perfectly in their words and in their art. And so that became something we knew we were working towards. And we actually started this animation process almost a year before the film was completed because it's so time-consuming to create animations of this detail and complexity. And we all knew that was a dream that they'd always had, even since Crimea, of a free, independent Ukraine where they could continue just making their work. And so that's how we accomplished still finding a way to close the film.
Yeah, wonderful. Any more questions? Come on. You're right here in the front? Yep. Right here, Tom. Oh, there.
Thank you for your film. And how would, in an ideal world, and we don't live in an ideal world, but what is the message that you would like? How could we go forward? And how can we think about the Ukraine now, especially in the new situation that we are in America?
Slava, would you like to respond? Could you hear that question? How do you think about Ukraine now, and what message would you like people to take away?
I think we probably have time for a couple more questions. Anyone? Yeah, how's the dog?
How's Froshik? He's always there,
Maybe we'll see.
generating heat.
The dog got its travel papers. That's great. How about one more question? And that last one was great. There's one right back here. Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to say that regardless of who is in the White House, who is leading us here in the United States, we support you. We in this community are also creatives. And in the greater community that is the Coast Film Festival and what we represent, we are excited to have your film. Thank you for making it. My question really is for Anya, because as a creative, your creativity in dire circumstances has shone through and been a bright light. How do you manifest your creativity given the circumstances of war around you?
I think the war is in the first days of the war. I understand. I don't. She don't come inside my world. My world about this world. I talk in my own way, and this world, borders of this world, I hate. They don't come inside. It's maybe now it's my idea. I'm in this dark time.
You know, I think starting the festival with a film like this, lends new meaning to the Coast Film and Music Festival. Enoch and Ben have done such a marvelous job of starting a new thing here in Laguna. This is its 6th year, and I think this is going to be its most poignant and meaningful year ever. And can we get Enoch up here and just close it off a little bit? Or is Ben, there's two, come on guys. Don't be shy.
Well, thank you for hosting this story. We're so honored to be here with you guys. Thank you so much.
I mean, I'm in awe, and I thank you and I applaud you guys for making this film. It's so inspirational, and we're so lucky to have you guys beam in tonight and bless our community with your beautiful story. So thank you both so much. Thank you, thank you.
We're so humbled that you made the effort to be here tonight after such an incredible adventure and journey through all these film festivals. I think you're flying to New York tonight, is my understanding. So thank you so much for coming here and sharing your time with us. Yeah. We can't wait for your next film. Yeah. Good luck with everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Spread the word, guys. Let everybody know about this beautiful film. Thank you.
Yeah.